Hi everybody, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today we're going to be working on part 2 of the Maxwell and we're starting off with our feet. You can see here what I'm doing is just lining the ruler up as to the directions and double check the number on your directions, and then I'm just taking my Bowen chalk marker. Everybody that has followed me for a while knows that I love my Bowen chalk marker, and you can see I'm just pointing out to all of the spots where I made the mark that indicates where I need to put the feet. The next thing you're going to see me do is grab my seam ripper and all that I got from Jack the Seam Ripper. I'll leave a link below to his Facebook page. They're great people to work with. But I just take it and you can see I just twist it and it goes right into the bag. I contemplated putting my hand in there, and actually I did at one point and still didn't have a problem. You can see the awls just hanging right out there for a minute. This is why I go and grab the purse feet. Guess I wasn't quite as organized as I thought I was that day. So now that I've got my purse foot, you can see I just take it and put it in the hole. This time it did help to put my hand in there because what I could do is stabilize the fabric around it as I was pushing it through. Next I've got to stabilize it, and there's a little washer in there, here it is, that goes around the little wings that are on the end of the foot. And hang on just a second and I'll give you a better view of it. Okay, there's my washer, and I think you can see the two wings. Now, please bear with me a second because the camera gets a little jiggly. It's not really easy to put these feet in one-handed. You kind of need that second hand in order to really press it down easily. I wanted you to see that part of it because I gave up. Now, here is a shot of it all in there and the wings pressed open so that you know what it needs to look like. And here's what it looks like, and honestly, using two hands, it is extremely easy to do. So you're just going to continue putting your feet in until you have all 4 of them in. I got a better shot of how I went about putting them in. See how I'm pushing the fabric down? That's kind of important because you want these feet in as tight as possible. And you can see here, now I'm putting those on. Obviously, it's a two-hand job, but it's really easy because now I'm just going to press, and as I press, what happens is these feet just kind of, those wings just kind of open up for me, and then once they're open, I can take and push it down with my hands. So see, it really is pretty easy to do. Just take some finagling. And here's all 4 in the bottom of my bag. All right, I've started working on the inside of the bag. So here's one of my inside pockets. And what I've done is sewn the right sides together per the instructions. And the next thing I'm going to do is just clip my corners. So I'm just going to do a clip across here. Make sure you can see it. And a clip across here. Then I am going to set my seams and I'm going to turn it right side out. And I will press it again once I've got it right side out. All right, I'm working on my inside pockets. So you can see I've sewn 1/4 of an inch around 3 sides. I left the top open per the instructions. I'm going to set my seams now, and then I'm going to turn it right side out. And you can see I have really clipped all 4 corners. Lots of times we only clip 2 of them, but because I'm going to be folding this top inside and then top stitching, I want this to lay a little bit flatter with not as much bulk also. So I will do that on both my pieces, and then I'll be back. One of the things I'm going to do to get my corner sticking out a little bit, I am going to take my wooden skewer and I am going to just carefully push out. Now you want to watch it because if you do too aggressively, what will end up happening is you'll poke a hole right through. So what I tend to do is take it and just kind of push it like this so that I'm just pushing it out. And we'll see how far I can get this one without risking poking through. I may not be able to get it all the way, but I'll get it good enough that I'll be pleased with it. I don't think that's too bad. Do you? Hopefully you don't either. So I will continue. I still have to press this down. I'm going to get it pressed down, and then I will be folding this top inside itself. So I believe just a little bit I've got to fold it in, and I will press it so that it stays there, and then I'll be top stitching. So what we have to do now is put our inside pocket on. I have found the center of my bottom and the top simply by folding it and sticking a pin in it. The next thing I have to do is it's supposed to be up 1.5 inches from the bottom. So I'm going to turn my ruler over, just line it up right here. Then I'm going to take my bag, I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to finger press. I'll probably stick a pin or two in also, just to make sure that I do have my center. And then I'm going to line it up. Now you can see here I've got the 6.5 inch mark. So I'm going to take it right there. And it is all I'm doing is using this as a straight. I'm not doing anything other than that. I'm going to take my ruler now this way, and I'm going to line up the rest of it. So you can see on one side here, I'm good. Up here, I'm farther over. So I'm just going to hold it in place and then move it over a little bit. All right. And I do need to move this a little bit too. All right, so that's in place. I'm going to double check and make sure that I'm 1.5 inches up. And I am. So now I'm going to hold this carefully down. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to stick a pin right here, just to temporarily hold it in place. I'm going to come over here and double check here, make sure I'm still 1.5. I'm going to put another pin in it here. Then I'm going to put pins here along the bottom so that it's, pretty safe and secure, and it doesn't move a whole lot when I stitch it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch all the way around it 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to do that to both sides. I also will be stitching right up the center line here. Now remember I told you I wanted to make sure my iPhone fit in one side. So I'm going to, once I get the outside stitched, I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to make sure before I sew my center seam that I've got it enough over so that my phone will fit in there. It looks like I'll be just fine, but I think I'm going to end up tightening it up a little bit. So I think I'll end up sewing it right about here. So there's a little bit of give for my phone to go in there, but yeah, not so much give that it flops over. So actually, I'm going to mark it right now that I'm doing this. Let me grab my chalk pencil. There's my phone. I'm going to just slide it down and over. I'll line it up across the bottom. And I think it looks great right about... Whoop, my chalk came out too far. Push it back in. Oh, let's say right about here. And how I can make sure that my line is straight, I can double check because I've got my center there and my center there. So I can use that line to center me up. And I'm just going to make a white chalk mark right down there, and that will disappear for me. All right, so I'm going to sew all the way around, and then once up there for my cell phone pocket. All right, so here is the inside of my bag. And you can, I hope, see, here's the ends, all right? And I have sewn it all together, so now we've got this big pouch again, just like we did when we put the top together, okay? And I did trim it according to what the directions told me to do. And look at how easily you can see the pockets in there. Isn't that nice because of that contrasting fabric? So there's that. And then, so the next thing I'm going to do is work on the tabs that hold the handles. It's time to start working on our tabs. And what you're going to see me use is a product by the name of Press Perfect. It's by Joan Hawley, and it's sold by Clover. And what this is it's a really easy way to make 1/4 inch seams. I'm going to lay it down, fold the fabric over, and then I can actually iron that. and it will not do anything. It doesn't burn that. It tends to not be hot. Might be a little bit warm, but that's about it. I used this to make all of my tabs, and I really liked it. It worked out great. So I pressed both sides of them. Here's one side. I'm a presser. I like to press my stuff. And now I'm going to do the second side. And once I get that done, then I will be folding it in half and making certain that I have it nicely lined up so that it will lay nice and flat and I don't have any puckers in my tabs, because the tabs are going to be towards the front of the bag. I want them to look really, really nice. You'll be able to see them so easily. So here I am folding it in half, making certain that it's adjusted, and then I'm going to press it again. Then I'll get ready to take it over to my machine and top stitch it. But I wanted you to see my pressing of it so that you knew how to do yours. Here we go. I'll iron it and then we're off to the next step. So now you can see, I think, there's all of my tabs connected and they're just distributed. I think I can adjust this one a little bit. So there's that all adjusted, and I do have it on both sides. So now I'm going to baste those down. Don't forget, when you sew the inside lining of the bag, this is the inside lining that I've got going, don't forget to leave one bottom side open, and she said about 9 inches is what you should leave it open. So don't forget to do that. Make sure that you back stitch on both ends so that it's locked in really well. Here comes the part that I always mess up, so I have to be very careful when I do it. This is the inside of my bag, okay? This, whoops, I'm dropping things. This is the outside of my bag with my tabs basted down. Now, please do not skip that step. You really need to do it, okay? So I'm gonna kind of scrunch up this part of my bag, okay? And I have to place it inside of my inside bag, okay? So I'm pushing it down in, and what I have to do here is I have to match up all of my seams. So this is going to be a little manipulating around, but it's not going to be bad. So I'm going to take my side seams and see where they are, and I'm going to match them right up. Boone thinks this is funny. So here I go. I'm going to match them up, and I think what I'm going to do to really hold it in place is I actually am going to put a pin right there. All right, and then I'll proceed with my Wonder Clips. But I really want that those corners to stay put and to match up. So here's another one of my corners right there, and I'm going to match that up. And again, I'm going to put a pin in right there, just to kind of keep it in place. All right, the next corner that I have to match up is right here. All right, so I'm just going to put a clip, I think, on that one. And then I'll work this in together, and then we'll put a clip there too. All right. Now, this is my next one. I want to make sure my tabs are down. So now here's our next one. Tabs are all down, and I'm going to line this up here. I'm going to do one right here, and then I'm going to come around. I'm going to line these up. I'm going to put a pin in that one because remember that was one of my seams. And I just do not want that moving. There's another Wonder Clip. Now I'm going to ease this all in together. Starting at the bottom center. And then I'll do another clip right here. And then another clip right here. Boone thinks this is funny. Right. I'm going to keep going, and I'm just kind of pushing the outside bag right down in there because that needs to stay put down there. Now here's another seam right here that I need to line up. And again, I'm going to put a pin in it to keep it kind of together for me. This is lined up pretty good. I don't think I need to do anything with that. We'll have to excuse the rattle in the background, please. It's Boone. He's right here with me, and he's playing in his walker because we're in the studio together for a few hours. I'm getting more of my clips. All right, here we are at a corner again. Oops, turn that around. All right. And now another corner. Now I'm going to move it, and again, make sure that all my tabs are down. Okay. Now here's another one. All right, and now I'm just going to adjust all of this out so that it lays nice and flat. But I, again, am making sure that my tabs are down because I don't want those tabs popping up, because if they pop up, then it's going to be a little bit of a mess. So here we go. And I'm pretty flat there. So now I can just put these together, starting at the bottom end, and then this side around. All right, and then one more. All right, now per the directions, I'm going to sew this, whatever seam allowance they tell me. I forget, I gotta read it again actually, all the way around this outside. And then because I left this opening in the bottom, I'm gonna be able to turn my bag right side out, okay? So, I'm going to sew that, and then I'll be back because the next thing we have to start working on is our handle, okay? Boone and I are clipping this part together because we could hand stitch this down, but you know what I'm thinking? It's going to be just as easy to top stitch it down. So I'm going to pull out my edges. Whoops. Boone's going to help me. All right, and I'm going to put my clips on. Whoops, wrong side. All right, we got to do a couple more. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, is that pretty? You like that? Oh, Boone says he likes this bag. He thinks this is a nice bag. Okay, Mimi's got to borrow it for a minute. Okay, so there's another clip. So what I'm going to do is whoops. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep clipping this together, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to top stitch it. And hopefully Boone will not knock over the tripod. So I've turned the bag right side out, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but right here is where I top stitched it so that I closed up where we turned it. You can top stitch it if you're careful. It's not hard to do. Or the other thing that you could do is just hand sew it closed. So the next thing that I'm going to do is just stitch a line all the way around it. I want to show you on the other bag where it is. Here's the other bag. And see, there's just a line all the way around. I'm going to do that same thing. I think it's probably a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch. Not bad, but it keeps everything down and flat and all that. And then once I get that done, then we will be working on the handles. I absolutely am in love with the way this is turning out. I think it's the cutest bag ever. So that's where we're at. The next step is I'm going to take my cording. Whoops, I'm kind of losing things all over. I'm going to take my cording and I'm going to wrap it around with the Soft and Stable, okay? And I'm going to sew as close as I can to the cording. Now, what I'm going to be using is going to be my zipper foot And this is my zipper foot. And if you have a Bernina, it's your number 4 foot. So I'm going to stitch it. It'll be just like this. I'll be stitching right down, okay? All right, so I have top stitched it, or I've stitched it, and then completely encased it inside of the cording. All right, I'm gonna try to center it a little bit better because I've got some tape down at one end, and I really don't want that. So here's my piece. The next thing I have to do is trim this down to 1/8 of an inch. I'll do that. Then my next step will be to take my fabric that is for my handles. This is my handle fabric, and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch seam, and then I will turn this right side out and then place this inside of this. When I come back, I'll have one of my handles done. It's time to start putting our handle together, so our fabric for our handle. This is the fabric for our handle, and what they're going to do is tell you to fold it in half, right sides together, stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way down. I'm going to ask you to do something else first. What I'd like you to do before you fold it in half and start stitching it is I want you to make a 1/4 inch fold and then a second 1/4 inch fold. Then I want you to top stitch this down. The reason why I'm asking you to do this is because once you start putting the handle in there, it, number one, is very tight, and number two, it will give you multiple layers to sew together when you're putting your handle into it, okay? So make certain that you do that. I'm gonna stick a pin in this so that you guys can see what it'll look like. So what you're gonna do is have your piece there and then just top stitched. When I did mine, I used blue thread. I did one handle this method and the other handle where I had to fold both sides under and tuck it in and then hand stitch it. And I will tell you, this side was much easier to work with. All right, so once you've done that, the next thing that you're gonna do is put right sides together and stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way down. When it comes time to thread your cording, which also has soft and stable wrapped and sewn around it, I will tell you it's stiff going through there. What I suggest you do is find a big safety pin. Diaper pins work great if those things are even available anymore. And what I did was I put the pin through the soft and stable and through the tape, and as all this is just plain old Scotch tape. So I put it right through all layers just like this, and it was tough going through, and then my safety pin extended. That way, as I pulled it, I pulled all of it through. The other thing that happened was my this inside cording did stretch, and I ended up clipping mine off a little bit. Didn't make a difference. Everything was fine. I had plenty to still make the length that I wanted it to be. And mine is a little longer than most of them. All right, so that's how you're going to do that part. Next thing I want to show you is how I stitched this together. So hang on just a second and I will show you exactly how I did that. This is the safety pin that I used. It's a 2 1/4 inch safety pin. So I wanted to show you that so that you had an idea. Here is my piece of soft and stable with my cording inside of it. And you're supposed to trim it up so that you've cut it about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, 1/4 to 1/8. And you don't want a whole lot of bulk in there. So now I'm just going to cut this in half so that you can see what it looks like, okay? I'm going to cut this in half. And I'm going to sew with dark blue thread. So here's your 2 handle ends coming together. And what I did, and I'm using blue thread so that you can see it, it's going to be underneath your handle. If you're using a light colored fabric on your handle, I would strongly suggest that you do use white thread. All right, so what I did is, this is my handle and it's separated. I started in my center and pulled my needle through, and I don't have my thimble with me, so this is not going to be easy. All right, once I did that, I picked up my second piece, which you can see, and then I would tuck it into this soft and stable and then pull it back up through the next one. And what this is just a really simple whip stitch. Okay, so I pulled it through, and I'm going to continue all the way around this piece, just doing that real simple little stitch. Now on mine, I will tell you, I actually did it twice. Didn't only do it once, I did it twice. And I'm just going to keep right on going. It's a very simple stitch. As long as you're going through just the soft and stable, it's not difficult at all. When you get going through the cording a little bit, it is hard, or I would say harder. I wish I did have my thimble with me, only because thimbles are nice. They kind of push everything through. But my thimble's in the house where I do my handwork at night. So this is how I did it. Just kept pulling it through, and then see how tight it pulls it for you. It just really does a nice job of just pulling it really, really nice and tight. And I'm just going to keep stitching all the way around. When I get to the seam here, I'm just going to kind of ignore that it's even there, and I'm just going to keep right on stitching. All right, so here I go through one side, now through the other. All right, not hard to do at all, just a little simple stitches just to pull it together. That's it. All right, now I might, at this stage, wouldn't hurt to go down deeper and come back up again. And you can see I'm struggling a little bit more because I'm all the way through, and then there's my needle. Okay, and that did go through to the cording that time. So it, was again really good and tight. All right, now to end this, I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to do just a couple of knots in it. See, there's one knot. Hopefully you can see it. Here's my second knot. I'm going to try to make my second knot go right where my first one did. Easy way to do that is just to grab your needle and pull them together. I'm going to do one more knot. And again, I'm going to hold my thread so that I can somewhat get them very close together. And then what you do is similar to a quilter's. I would take it and I would weave my needle through and then pull it through a good distance away from where it went in. I'm gonna try to push with my nail. All right, so now I've taken it in, and see I'm at my knot, and I'm just gonna pull it and snap it through. And mine actually snapped right off. Didn't work. Maybe only 2 knots would have been better. But if you make that, let's see if I can do another one. Pull it through. So what you're going to do when you get to the end, you're going to pull it through. I'm going to make a little knot right here, because I'm starting. Make a couple of knots right there, going in and out in different spots. Pull it through, and then I would also make a knot a little bit farther in. You could see I wrapped it around there twice. I'm pulling it down. Stick my needle in it so it pulls down a little bit deeper, and then I'm going to bury my thread by just taking it, pulling it in, then giving a little snap, and see it snapped right in there. So now my piece is all done. I can cut this off, and then it's time to do a similar stitch, but obviously you would do it much neater than what I just did that, to attach the fabric together. So now I'm going to bring my bag over here so you can actually see what it looks like. This is most definitely my work bag. You can see I've got my stuff in there. And I have been carrying it back and forth from my studio to the house at night because I always have stuff to bring back and forth. So I'm going to get my things out of it so I'm not showing you everything that's tucked away in it. And here, whoops, I'm going to lift this. Here is my bag. All right, there's one side of it, the bottom with my nice feet. And then I want to show you the handles. I did make my handles larger than it was suggested. And the reason why I did was because I want it to hang a little bit easier over my shoulder. Now I'm going to try to find where my seam is. Here it is, right here. I'm going to bring the camera back down to you. See, here's the seam. You can see where I had to kind of scrunch them together and hand stitch it. And both of these ends were actually folded over. So there's that one. And then I'll turn it and find the other one for you. I will tell you, they are not easy to find. Let's see if I can get a hold of it. Where is it? I did rotate it so that I thought I rotated it so it would be under the handles. Oh, here it is. So this is, yep, here it is. And I want you to see the difference. See, I had a, whoops. See, I had a nice space. Here's one line of stitching. Here's the other. I did 2 stitches, one on each side of it. And see, I was able to kind of bury my stitches a little bit better because I had this seam right here. And I wanted to show you that. Quite honestly, once you rotate your handle, and I'll show you, you just kind of play with it a little bit. It's not hard to do. And I just rotate my handle down here. You will never see your seams at all. So there is my Maxwell bag. Thank you everyone for joining me while I made my Maxwell bag. I am absolutely in love with it. It is loaded down with all my stuff from work. And you can see, I think you can see at least how it hangs there on my shoulder. If I go up on my tippy toes, you can see a little bit more. I love it. This bag has got great pockets in it. In the morning, I shove my cell phone in there when I come out to the studio. It's got my day planner in there. It's got, let's see what else it's got in there today. Today, it's got my day planner in there. I love Erin Condren planner. It's got a little bag that holds all of my pens and pencils. And it also has my traveler's notebook, which is my journal. So it's got all my stuff in there. I love it. Comes back and forth with me. Whenever I've got to take something in the house for the night, I just drop it in the bag and off it goes with me. So I would like to again thank you so much for joining me today while we finished up our Maxwell bag. Please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like this video and if you want to see more tutorials like this. Don't forget about our Facebook group. We're having an awful lot of fun sharing pictures out there. So check it out when you get a chance. There will be links below to things that I mentioned here and also to my Facebook group. I'll see you again soon. Bye everybody.